What time is it? Your show. Yeah, what time is it? Your show. Yeah, what time is it? Your show. Yeah, he's back from the dead. Your show. Putting it on the map, yeah. Saskatoon. Right next to New York. New York. Yeah, what show, yeah. Your show. What time is it? Your show. Yeah, time to talk some shit, yeah. Your show.
You've tuned in, yeah?
Yeah, von Maggie. Bark, bark, wolf, wolf, who wants a treat, yeah. Keep listening.
Hello. Ooh, Maggie Cam. Oh. It's okay. Just hit the reset. I can do this dark. Welcome officially to your show, as we just have to reset a camera real quick here. You know how to do all that? Yeah, I think so. It's usually where I call LB about it. And then, oh, now we lost the other one. Oh, boy. Things are escalating. Yeah, dude. Here, hit the oopsies. Hit the oopsies thing, and then we can knock us out. We love the oopsie screen. Watch this. There it is. Yeah, and then we're back. Look at that. We're back now. And it's so easy to set. I'm ready. Are you ready? Are you ready? Born ready. Ooh, that was deep. I thought we were ready. Hey, hello, Uncle Leo. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of your show, the #1 ranked podcast in the category of opening up at least 2 shows in a week with a little bit of a whoopsie doodle, and that's what makes it special. #1, baby. Feeling good. Also, still the only live 4 to 5 p.m. show on YouTube located in Saskatoon that we know of, which is very special. And thank you for joining us. My name is Gary. I don't know if I said my name weird there. It's been a day as we're doing a lot of cool things here. But before we get into anything else, I know there's quite the following. Lots of people following around the Maggie Cam like it's the McRib. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to give you your fix right now and check in with the beautiful Margaret. Let's see what she's up to. There she is. Oh, she's dozing off. She's had a long day. We had a bunch of people coming through the studio. She's had a lot of fun saying hello. Now it's rest time. The Maggie Cam for our fantastic friends over at Pet Planet on 8th Street, your pet's natural grocer, Mike and Rochelle, along with Maggie's boyfriend, Leroy, always happy to make your day the most incredible. See, I just say Leroy, and she's like, ooh, you talking about my boyfriend again, Dad? Yes, we are, young lady. She loves him so much. During the week, they're there for you, making your day better. And then after hours, be it during the week or on the weekend, is Kirsten, Shar, and Chris there to take care of you and making sure you have the greatest experience of your life. It all happens over at Pet Planet on 8th Street, your pet's natural grocer. Maggie, you are now good to go back to dreaming about your boyfriend, Leroy. Very well done. So, before we get to the Tuesday party that is the All That Angst podcast, bros, we got a quick little update for you from our friends over at the Elmwood Fall Feast. So we're going to check in with our friend Maggie here right away. Let's go ahead and roll that one, Dragon. We are joined yet again by one of our favorite Maggies in the universe, right there with Maggie, our puppy version. This is the human Maggie, Maggie Stevenson with Elmwood. And ticket sales are now closed for the big fall feast going on this Thursday, but still we want to spread the awareness and talk about the importance of this event again. So Maggie, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so on Thursday, we're getting together at Prairieland Park to celebrate people living with intellectual disabilities at Elmwood and making sure that they have access to the transportation that they need.
Yes, and now I've been in talks with you guys about adding this studio as a location where we can bring all of our friends in here from Elmwood and from Cosmo and just sit down and make a couple of videos and, just have a lot of fun here. We made sure it was accessible. What are some of the other places we get to take all of our pals to around town?
Oh, we take them everywhere. So some of the big ones are usually medical appointments, community inclusion events. So that's attending Special Olympics or sports activities or
Like the
wheelchair
blades?
bowling.
Yeah. Oh,
You
the
know,
wheelchair's so fun. I love the
yeah, it is
wheelchair
a lot of
bowling.
fun. My son likes to help out with that
Oh,
one
yeah,
actually. So
absolutely.
yeah, and just like their regular day to day, going for coffee, getting their groceries, things like that. That you really need a vehicle to get there.
Yeah, and to get to work, and even like I've seen some trips
Yep.
to Fantasyland Hotel in Edmonton.
Oh yes, some of our vehicles have done some major road trips as our residents like to just enjoy life just like everyone else.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so special. So tickets are now closed, but with a big event going on this Thursday night over at Prairie Land, it's the Elmwood Fall Feast. You can come by, say hi to all of our friends as the big night goes down, and we continue to raise money to help make sure all of our pals get around town, and not just around town, around the province, and even around across the country.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Maggie.
Thank you.
So there you go. The Fall Feast going down this Thursday, Prairie Land, Elmwood, yxe.ca if you want to get involved or make any donations or help out. Again, ticket sales have been closed now, but still you can help out, and the help is always needed with our friends over at Elmwood. So the Fall Feast is going to be going down. I will be showing up late to that one because I am emceeing an event at the Saskatoon Food Bank and Learning Center warehouse, which we always love to do. I was there last year for this one, and it's a lot of fun. And just, you know how we do around here, be it Cosmo, be it the firefighters, be it the Food Bank and Learning Center or Elmwood. Those are our big four that we love to help out in any way we can. So Thursday is going to be a big day for getting that karma up, which we talk about all the time. Thank you again to Maggie Stevenson and the team over at Elmwood for doing all the work that they do. Absolute angels. As it is now time to introduce the Tuesday crew. One man you know from all the bands. Another man you know from all the natural products. You put them together and you get the sexiest super formation of awesomeness that's ever existed. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Uncle Mike and Matt from all the bands.
Why, thank you.
Woo! There he is.
That was
There you
a
go.
superhero intro if I ever heard one. Holy
Yes.
moly.
Forget the angst. I'm all out of breath now.
Yeah, I
I'm gonna
actually am
rename
too.
this thing. We came in way too hot, boys.
Fastest killer.
Come on now.
Fastest killer.
Breath,
Woo!
a
Getting
lot of
sweaty.
memory.
How are you? I hate starting these interviews. We don't do interviews here. What am I saying? I hate starting these episodes with how are you, but most of the time it's a crutch because I'm out of breath and I need to breathe again. So it's like pass the baton over and then it's oxygen mask. How you doing, Uncle Mike?
Dandy. I'm doing dandy. Is that enough to
That
get
was
your
good.
breath?
Yeah, I'm back. I think I'm back. As well, Matt from all the bands. How are you, old friend?
I am great. Yeah, it's a good day.
I do want to give you a lot of flowers, not just in real life, but as well for
I can buy myself flowers.
easy there, Beyonce. So the
Smiling.
reason I wanted to say this is what we do every Tuesday is the boys show up and we record the audio only podcast named All Out of Angst. And during that show, we it's like an unfiltered sort of Tuesday on your show. We get to be a little more loose and it's audio only so we can relax a little bit and do all that stuff. And it's also a nice little trial run to see, what we can talk about during the live show. And you had a line, Matt, from all the bands. I'm still thinking about to this very moment, and it was like damn near an hour ago when you had dropped it. But we were talking about Uncle Mike and how he just decided to fix up his tractor a little bit because he's got a tractor. Leave it to Uncle Mike to have a tractor. And then he talked about how he's, fixing it manually as sort of a farm man tends to do, or farm woman. And he's saying he's got a wrench in for the steering wheel. And then you had a line after I went to you after we asked Uncle Mike about the tractor. And what did you say he makes you feel like whenever you're beside him?
Yeah, it's similar to Kevin McAllister in Home Alone 2 when he was going into the bathroom to get his tie and Uncle Frank was showering. and he was told to not open his eyes or he'd grow up never feeling like a real man. And I said, that's what it's like being next to this guy all the time. Reno guy who can really do the cool jerk.
Oh, shucks.
Oh, but it's so true. Every time we check in with Uncle Mike, he's doing something so cool and manly, like fixing up his tractor and getting it all ready to start pushing snow instead of dirt and all this cool stuff. And then you're like, I did a couple scales today.
I did some scales, you know,
Yeah.
some domestic work. You know, threw a load of laundry in.
Yeah. I brushed Maggie a little bit, not enough, as her hair's still falling out.
I mean, I vacuumed this morning, too.
Okay.
And I
But
also,
probably
for the
like some sort of cool, like the,
He's got a riding vacuum for the house.
Yeah, like a leaf blower type.
well, it's a
thing.
gas-powered vacuum.
Something like that
I
the
rigged it up pretty
Ghostbusters
cool.
would use.
Yeah. Great for sucking up, dirt and unsettled souls.
Yeah. Also,
Whatever
for the
works.
record, I did not fix the tractor. So it's,
Spoiler
You know,
alert: the
I
story
do-
was great until the finish.
sorry. I mean,
That's okay. We do.
I hope to.
It's
Hope to
fun
before the
how it's an odd couple, or an all threeple, I guess it would be. In like
Thruple?
we're thruple. Thank
Yeah.
you. We're all joined through our love for music, and dare I say, we're all very nice gentlemen who understand the importance of being like respectful and treating people the way you want to be treated. But this guy's so much more manly than us. He's operating on such a level that makes us feel so
I
much
know,
less.
and I like-
And
I
it's so
like-
awkward for me.
I
That's why we keep
work
doing
at the
it.
dump and like
Yeah.
drive big trucks, but
You do a lot of manly shit.
even so, I just
Yeah.
I can't.
And sticking with that, we also got into local bands that we loved growing up. And we don't really have to like sort of duplicate the conversation because it's a totally different sort of setup here as we're now on cameras and everything is a little more complicated. I do want to maybe touch on where you feel the local punk slash, thrash slash metal sort of scene is at today. We talked about all these bands that we love and all like the bros that came up through it and all that. But as a whole, do you think we are, doing better or worse as far as a scene of music, and more specifically the music that we really tend to gravitate to?
I think we're on an upswing right now. Like I really feel the Black Cat and then
Yes.
the No Go's are kind of like really kind of almost flying the flag right now because every time I look on social media, they're playing a show in Regina or Edmonton or something like. So they're out there doing it. They're on that compilation that
Canada Punk.
Canada Punk. So, but there's also, I think it's called the Green Room or something. Have you heard of that? It's a newer, like, all ages venue that's opened up. That's where Tristan and Battle
Yes,
had
okay,
played.
and they had the tug of war in there. That was
Yeah,
baller.
So
Yeah.
I think with that venue, I'm seeing like it's nice that there's all ages now, like a viable kind of venue and promoter. I don't know the guy's name or whatever, but he's putting on shows and stuff. So I think we're on the upswing. That certain COVID time hit us hard, and we were already like on a little bit of an ebb at that point. But I'd say the things are looking up for us, and like just gotta get people out to shows, and it's nice. There's lots of cool shows happening. Like I would wish with this creator show that's happening. I believe it's a Creator, Testament, and Possessed.
You're pumped for this one.
I'm super pumped.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen a local opener for like. I really hate when there's those types of bands and there isn't an opportunity.
Missed
for
opportunities, yeah.
some local. Because it's good for everyone. Even if you're a band that has never really played a show before, that's almost a perfect thing for them. Where you can bring out your buddies, your high school buddies, people that are like on the periphery of music, and you get them out to a show. That's an additional 75 people that helps these bands. So I
And
wish
you learn so much
Yeah.
from these bands that you get to share the stage with,
so
right?
I wish that Coors Event Center, like, and they do put local openers, but I feel like that should be a thing. Always have a local opener because to
I
me
agree.
that's really important for the scene and for the touring band.
Would you say that be it punk or metal or thrash or sort of the not mainstream type of groups are more together than they were when we were growing up? I feel like the metal guys and the punk guys, you knew each other, but you're still going to a little bit of different shows. And I feel like nowadays it's sort of come together more. Would that be, or do you think
You
it's
know,
always been
I
tight
would
like that?
I would say that's the thing, like, because Untimely Demise always took a passion, and we always wanted to have, like we were talking about, that Good Enough Lava Goat Untimely Demise show, where there can be punk and then like different genres of metal, or like we've had lots of times where we did like rehashed Untimely Demise and like Shooting Guns or something, where having different genres, but it's not that far. I always liked that, because then you're getting 3 different kind of fan bases
Yeah.
and stuff.
For sure.
And I know I think Buds is still doing $5 5
Yeah.
bands on
Absolutely.
Wednesdays, and that's another thing where you see a metal band and a punk band. So we're doing everything right.
And that's half the battle, I
Yeah.
think, right? Uncle Mike, what do you think? We getting good here? We feeling good?
Agreed.
Yeah. But do you know what I mean though? When I say, like, there was a time where the metalheads would be like, oh yeah, these punk guys, like, you're listening to that, wussy punk rock, and there was sort of like a little bit of a divide. I feel like that's sort of.
I remember the first time on Time, because we were
You guys started as a punk band. That's the
and
difference.
when we came back, we played a show in the basement, and we played with a bunch, I believe, like a bunch of crust bands or whatever. And I think people were, and some punk bands, but they were assuming that we were going to be that same, pop punky kind of, California sound.
And you come back and just punch
and it was
in the
heavy metal,
face.
and I just remember everyone kind of walked to the back, and then kind of were doing this.
Yeah,
As soon
right?
as we started playing some melodies and kind of like had our metal edge, and it was a whole thing where the 7 punk Untimely Demise fans were really pissed off
Yeah,
when we
man.
decided to switch genres, but you got to be authentic to yourself. And yeah, I've always, like, again, because I'm writing new music right now, and with Raven Witch and Untimely Demise, I feel like I've been putting that, everything I've been writing, it's still that genre, but I'm putting a little bit of punk in, because that's always been in my DNA.
Absolutely.
And I feel like I'm being authentic to myself to put that in. So again, there'll be like on some of this new Untimely stuff, it's like heavy metal, but then there's like a breakdown that's very reminiscent of punk, and it's almost like you put in a solo. Well, this is like the punk
Right,
solo,
there
where
you go.
there's just a little flair of
Little
that.
taste,
But
little tickle.
30 seconds of that punk vibe, that'll get that circle pit going. And
Ah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think what got me thinking about that whole side of this is we just named off a bunch of bands, and we talked about how it's been all of our buddies that are sort of in those bands, and like the hilarity that is the name Rehashed, and how like it could be just like version 2, version 3,
Yeah.
and just keep that going.
Yeah.
And the coming together, maybe it's just because we're old now, and that sort of plays right into the All Out of Angst name for the podcast that we do. But we're at the point now we're accepting of everyone, right? And it's just like, it's so dumb to think that we couldn't be friends because you listened to like this sick metal band, and I was like, oh no, I'm into this thing. It's so dumb to come up thinking like that, but that's how everyone thought back then. So when I look now at this sort of new music world, and you see the punk bands doing shows with like the death metal bands, and sort of everyone being okay with that, makes me feel like we're at a place now where it might even be better than it was when we came up.
It's good, and it just makes sense when Saskatoon is not a big market.
Thank you.
And especially when you're talking about these like niche genres or whatever. So why not, rather than just always play a show for 75 people, you get 3 different bands with 3 different draws, and now all of a sudden you get to play, in front of 300 people and 200 people that, never would have seen you at all. And even if you grab a couple of them, those are fans.
That's how you build.
But, you always see like memes and stuff where they're like, oh, if, my shuffle, was this, and, it's got like Mozart and like a country band or whatever. So like people listen to different genres all the time. Why can't they do that at a show?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you feel like maybe we like us and all of our buddies that sort of grew up in the scene here, do you feel like we had any part in sort of paving the way for breaking down those stigmas a little bit? Not that we're going to pat our, what was the line from Rick? What's the line from Rick? Earmuffs if your kids or family watching or listening at home. Audio only version of this show you can find anywhere. On Rick and Morty, Morty says something about how he did a good job. And Rick goes, "Hey, easy, Morty. Don't break your arm jerking yourself off there, all right?" Just the classic line. And sorry again for the vulgarity, but the point remains, we're not going to do that. But do you think we had any part in that?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I probably only, realistically, I became, even though I listen, yeah, listen to a variety of music. Um, I don't know if, I mean, I guess going to support bands, right? I mean, that's how I would,
And
that's
the,
how
and
you
the,
would help, right? You step out of your comfort zone or you step out of your genre to see something else, right?
yeah, and then you meet people there,
For sure.
and then, oh, hey, that guy's pretty cool. Maybe
Yep.
I'll hang out with him sometime. Then before you know it, you guys be in a band together.
Yep.
Right? Maybe that guy has similar interests for a new project he wants to do, and you just build it, and then we come up and off we go.
Yep.
So something to think about as we sit here on your show, the Tuesday edition, with the All Out of Angst podcast crew. That includes Matt from All the Bands and Uncle Mike from the All Natural Products. With this music talk, and I want to keep going with this, as the 3 Hall Unplugged Open Mic Series is going on. We did an interview with the next 2 bands coming in this weekend over at 3 Hall. And one of them is a guy named Nat, and he's from the southern U.S. And he's like, I think he said he's like in his 50s or late 50s or 60s. And he had talked about the different bands that he had played with coming and how he originally was a singer, but in order to get in with different bands around his area, he learned to play instruments when he was 12. He said 12 years old when he first started playing with bands and going to like open mics and doing those things. It was a really cool story. He talked about his way in with all of them was learning different instruments. So he gets in by learning the instruments, and then, hey, can anyone sing this part? Like, yeah, I can sing it. But he came in as a singer and wanting to be a singer. And so now, whatever it is, 40, 50 years later, he has the ability to do all of the stuff. And he said it's made him, it's so invaluable for him because he can do everything.
Yeah, especially
sure.
if you want to be a hired gun or whatever.
Yeah.
It's nice where, they're not always looking for that flashy lead guitarist or, not always looking for a drummer. Sometimes people need a bass player or this or that. So it's nice to be able to have that kind of base knowledge of all the different things. And yeah.
Yeah, it really opens up some doors, versatility.
Yeah, and just when I think about it in a way with bands and local bands specifically, because we're sort of going in that direction here. Like do you think it would be, like, obviously it's more beneficial to learn everything, but does it ever take away? Like, say you wanted to start making soap and you tried all these different ways before you found your own. Does it still make you feel like it's your own? Like, are you, how can I say this correctly? Because you want to have all of these different, I guess, things coming into whatever your mastermind plan
you
would
wanna
be.
Stay true to one.
Yeah. It's such a dumb way of putting it. I wish I would have said it way, way better.
Can't go back now.
But yeah, like, again, live. This is one of those times where it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, being live,
taking
look
it
at
back.
you swim. But just going through all that stuff and learning everything, does it take away from you being a specialist in one area? That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't think so. I mean, I think it would only make you appreciate, or just help you, really decide that this is the way I want to go by trying
Yeah.
those other things, right? I
Sometimes
mean,
knowing what you don't like. or
exactly.
whatever
You
it
got to
is.
try. Like
For me, I know I had that thing in my mind the whole time where when I was younger, I was like, I'm going to specialize in heavy metal guitar playing, specifically rhythm and like lead shredding, but I'm not going to like worry about this or jazz or country chicken picking. And because I felt like, or even like home recording, I felt like just let someone else be the pro at that. I'm going to just focus on my thing. And I did that for many years, but I think part of that was maybe some of my own insecurities, like, when you pick up and start trying to play some jazz chords or trying to play some country, it's almost like starting at square one again. So then that made me feel bad. So like, I'd say maybe it was my insecurities that why I decided to focus on that. And in my last, whatever decade, I've been trying to branch out more. And then when I start playing metal, I'm like, oh, it's actually helped me, and I've become more well-rounded, and I can improvise better. So I would say that it's the more you learn the basic ones for all, like for the general, like knowing a standard, kind of rock beat, knowing how to play bass, basic rhythm guitar, and then like being able to harmonize or something. I think you do those things, you're going to be
got
an
it
asset
licked.
to almost any band.
Yeah, and that's sort of the obvious answer, I think. Hey, it never hurts to learn things.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not like you're spending 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
You could even like focus on, like say 80% of your time on your specialty, and then just always do some diming where you just pick
There it is.
one little thing.
Remind
to up
everyone
your
about
game.
diming one more time because I love it
Okay,
so
yeah.
much. That's a
So
great term.
again, yeah, just stole it from Dimebag Daryl, where he said, you learn one thing, a day. After a year, you got 365 new things, and obviously, you don't retain every one of them. What's happening,
You
baby?
just yell at him.
Okay.
You said Dragon's coming out here
Oh,
saying,
yeah,
"Hey,
yeah.
Matt from all the bands, close to the mic, bro."
Okay. I'm a very timid man. But just learning one thing new every day. Kind of spend, even if it's just like, I don't know, 20 minutes or whatever. Like I was showing Mike before the show, I've been doing the Facebook reels where I'll find like a little like bluegrass riff or whatever, and I check it out, and I'll do that for my diming. But yeah, just learning one new thing a day. It's not like you even need to keep it in your repertoire, but if nothing else, you're just exercising your learning muscle, exercising the old brain.
This is always important.
Mm-hmm.
So we sit here and we talk about these younger bands coming up, and we talk about venues that are bringing music back, like our friends over at 3 Hall, and shout out to Bloom Entertainment. If we could sit down, like I want to find a way, and we can just sort of brainstorm this right now if we want, to bring a band in here, say once every couple weeks, along with us. Now, I don't know if it's just someone from the band, but we would have it set up in here and talk about what it's like to go through this stuff. What's it like to be in a band right now, trying to get started, like a band like the No-Go's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like these bands. Like if we could bring them in here and sit them down and just talk about the journey and how hard it is, do you think that would be beneficial in any way?
Well, I don't see why it wouldn't be like.
Well, I just don't know
yeah.
if would we throw them off track by trying to say like it's because it's different now, right? That's my whole point. Like you're right in the middle of it with your bands. It's way different now than it was way back when we were coming up.
So, I mean, again, parallel to kind of an experience I had, which is basically doing the same. You want someone who's already in it to kind of spread some knowledge on the people that aren't in it,
Yes.
right? So I had a young lady come into the shop the other day, and she was whatever looking at some soap, and then she's like, "Oh, I make soap, and I want to start a business," and I mean, I still have my work day to do, so I'm not going to sit down for 2 hours
yeah.
and
Here's a
consult
tutorial.
you or whatever, right? But it's like, well, what do you want to know? Like, how do you? And I don't know. I mean, I probably talked with her for half an hour or something, and like, hey, like I've got work to do, kind of thing. And but again, it was like, I'm just throwing, and a lot of the stuff I did, was years ago. So whether that's like starting up, like getting a business license or starting, getting your GST tax shit going, so some stuff I don't really remember, and some stuff when I kind of listened back as to what I was really telling, like, geez, like it maybe felt like it was just a lot of information, and I was like, I hope I didn't scare you off, it's like, I know it seems a lot, and not everything obviously has to happen all at once, and I think, if someone would have done that to me, I think I probably would have done maybe things a little bit differently, just in the process of the steps or
That's
the order
a
of
perfect
the
analogy
steps.
for what I'm saying. Yeah.
So I think, yes. Long story short, I think it's beneficial, right?
Yeah,
to
for sure.
yeah.
I think what you could do is have, bring the band on or whatever, or the person from the band. You can talk, they can give all their, tips and tricks of what they've did. But then maybe when you're recapping at the end, say, what is the number one thing, if you could only give the one,
Tip.
your
What's the big
best
tip?
tip?
Yeah.
What is it? Because then we can start, because like for me, I know for sure when we first went out and toured, I was just, because I'm so nervous all the time, no matter what I do.
Yeah.
And we would get ready, and I would just practice the whole time, not talk to anyone. We'd play the show, be looking down, then we pack up and go to the next place. And a lot of the times, we wouldn't talk to the bartenders, all the people, the bands. The one thing I would say, talk to everyone. Like, you're almost more concerned with like building connections with people than you should be about the show you're playing. You're like,
Yes.
because then next time you've put in the groundwork and you're like, hey, this guy I was talking to that's in the crowd, he actually has a radio show, or he actually
Right.
Is in another band that would fit well with you, and then that could be a potential show that you could play later. So
Mhm.
I would say just like don't be shy when you're, playing out of town and not in your own market. Talk to everyone. Try and find it. And you never know, like, who they are. I know when we played this one festival in England, it was or Leeds in England, and I was talking to this one guy, and just schmoozing, and he was like the Earache record president or whatever, and I'm like, man, I'm
Nice.
glad I wasn't an asshole to this guy.
Well-
But it's just anyone. You never know what the person could be and what they could do for you in your career.
Well, and that's what they say in life and in business. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
Hanging out with the All That Angst podcast crew, solving all of the world's biggest issues. I think we're onto something here, and we can talk about this a little bit. So we were talking earlier about how this whole format that we use for this show is very unique. Now, I don't like to come in with a bunch of notes and a bunch of plans, then you feel like you have to hit every single thing on there. I like to have conversations, then have it organically grow. And this conversation has gone from local bands and then genres of music and being fans of different genres and bringing those people together. And now it's got to the point where we can talk about the importance of not just sound guys, but the people that are working to put your band out there. And I'm talking the sound check guys, like the people at the bar, the bartenders, every single experience that you have in that venue from the moment you walk in to the moment you leave is being judged by every person in there. And if you have one dick in your crew that's a real asshole and wants to piss everyone off, it could cost you gigs in the future because venues talk to each other. Everyone across these tours that everyone goes on, they all know each other.
It is a small community.
Thank you. The importance of being a good person when you're in a band. And this works for everything, but specifically we can talk about when you're in a band.
Yeah, I know one example. I'm not going to name the band or whatever or anything, but a lot of times I call them goober bands, like their first or second show or whatever. And a lot of times you get on stage and you're playing, and there's like a bunch of people in the venue. Sometimes what happens is you kind of get a little bit power, like a little bit of an ego, or think people, you think you're a bit
Right.
better. And I know this one band was playing Black Hat, and he was hanging out the whole time, and he's fairly gooby. And then he gets on stage and about to play or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, can I get a water up here?" Like beckoning the waitress to bring like water. It's like you could have got yourself
Right.
water the whole time, and it's like, who do you think you are? But I know I saw that and it stuck with me, and I'm like, I don't like you. I'm probably not going to support your band now. And I like other guys from that band, and I wouldn't want to throw them under the bus, but like it really soured the experience for me, and I almost wasn't really into their set after that. So like, but yeah, it's just don't think because you're playing your second bar gig with 20 people there that you've made it yet. It's a long way.
And
Mhm.
you got any stories?
Well,
to me.
no, I mean, that was one thing my dad always said. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, and you treat everyone with respect, whether
That's
it's the CEO, whether it's the custodial staff, taking out the garbage, whatever. Because you never know, like, where a connection with someone
Yeah.
could lead you in the future, and it's just
And
way
it's just-
easier to be cool,
To not be a
and
dick
nice.
to people.
Exactly,
Like it's
right?
just
Like,
nice to
yeah.
be nice to
Yeah.
people.
It's so
I've worked for people like when I again, I don't want to really throw anyone.
Yeah, no
but
names, no
I
names. We're
had
not
a
throwing
boss
anyone.
or
Yeah.
whatever, and we would go out for lunch every day. After in between doing our work or whatever. And the way he would treat Tim Hortons employees, and the way he would treat like these service workers, I'm like, who do you think you are, man?
Yeah.
Like you can't. We're just like schmoes doing like
Totally.
labor work.
Yeah.
We're not better, and yeah, it just that disgusts me when I see people treating people, especially people that they appear are lower on the rung
Right.
than them. It's just
And then that whole thing has basically worked its way into the entire mission statement of this network, which is to make the world a better place. Do good things. Karma's very real. Do good things, and it'll start happening to you. And treat people how you want to be treated. The reason I bring up the music business and bands is like it's the pipeline, right? It's like the trucker pipeline. People talk, and the second you are labeled as a tough to work with band, you lose gigs. That's what happens.
You're
And
blackballed.
people don't want you there anymore. And it blows my mind that even knowing that, 'cause it's the most obvious thing in the world, bands still go out and they think they have to be like these big rock stars that are above everyone, and it's like a part of their gimmick. It's like, you guys, that's not how we're doing it anymore. We care about each other. We have to do this together.
And the reality is you're a musician, but ultimately you're an entertainer. Like that should be the
Right.
goal of whatever you're doing. If you're on stage, you should be entertaining. And if you're like belittling people, whether it be staff or like, fans or whatever, like that's not entertaining. They're not going to leave that show feeling good. And then they're going to be less apt to come to the next one.
Well,
So you're,
and without listeners, fans, customers, like the shit we do doesn't exist. I mean, sure, we can do it for ourselves, but
Yeah.
it gets nowhere, right?
Yeah,
If-
once you play a song live and you hear people, like, or see people moving around and enjoying it, that's like the song is actually alive. Or like when your product has been launched and then
Right.
you start seeing, whatever the reviews online, and they're like, hey, or the stories
start
of the,
smelling people,
you're
good
like,
smelling people.
That guy didn't smell that bad. But yeah, it feels alive,
Right.
once it's out there.
Yeah.
And
And I think even, like, I can't stress this enough. This works for everything. If you're just a good person, good things will happen to you. And that's what we're doing here, is trying to treat people the way we want to be treated. And what got me thinking about this is sound guys. I've talked to a couple different sound guys over the years. And if you ever want to know anything about a band, you just talk to a sound guy, right? Like they're in that position where they're sort of like the test run for what the band is going to be like. When they come in for sound check, sound guy will do it. And if you got one of those classic sound checks, be it classic sound check guy or classic
Or
diva
band.
on
Yep,
either side. And make no mistake, it's not just the bands, by the way. Like we could do a whole nother show on like the venues and the people that are inside it and how they operate, but that's not what we're doing here today. Sound guys can always either make it one of the best shows of your life or just the worst. And it's all about how they're feeling, like literally. If they're in a good mood, you're great. If they're not, it's going to be a tough night.
I would say like the drummer and the sound guy are the two most important, or
Yes.
sound person are the most important people to have, because they can make or break the show. Like it doesn't matter if you're like playing the best solo ever. If no one can hear it,
What's the point?
there's no point.
Yeah.
Or like
Was
you
that a-
can't hear the vocals.
That was sick.
Was
That
that
was
a
a sick
stand-up-
solo.
was that
I
a
like
stand-up
that.
double
Yeah.
bass?
Basically, what I do.
Damn, you're
Ladies.
well versed in
well,
your instruments.
It's my power stances, because I'm a short individual. I've got a smaller stature, and when I'm playing on stage, I like to lift my guitar up so
So
people
sweet.
can see. But I know like sometimes I'll actually put it on my leg. And when I played that Shredders of Metal, when I did that competition in Toronto, and I was doing that power stance or whatever, and it was Alex Skolnick or the guy from Testament. He's like, it looks like you're used to just like sitting down and playing, because I was doing that move. I'm like, that's my move, man. But yeah, I was like, fair enough. Like I didn't want to be one
I'm
of
not
those.
gonna
yeah,
argue.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
argue,
yeah.
but I'm like, I was trying to do a move, but
I respectfully disagree with your assessment, sir.
well, I just respectfully agreed, because I respect him so much.
Yes, sir.
But,
Yes,
yeah.
sir. I appreciate your
Oh
comments.
man! So what do you think we can do for bands coming up? I mean, it's, like we've talked about numerous times how I want to get bands in here promoting their stuff, and we got a good thing going now with bands coming through with that unplugged open mic night going on at 3 Hall. But like a band like the No Go's, if we were to bring them in here, how would we set it up? Because I would want it for all three of us to be with the band or with someone from the band.
Oh, like
Like
the,
what- how
the
would it-
setup in here.
Yeah,
hey?
like how, and we don't have to talk about the technicalities of
Yeah.
it, but just that conversation. Like, what do you think it'd be like to sit down with a wily veteran of the biz that you're in, and then a couple of jabronis, and just who were like came up in the same scene as you? Like, would you be okay? Do you think
I
the
think-
younger kids, the younger generation would be okay sitting down with a bunch of old guys, not telling them what to do or how to do it, but sort of trying to guide them in the right direction to fully maximize the potential?
I think there's only one way to find out. Like,
I think that's. I'm trying to get you
Yeah,
guys to talk me
yeah,
out of it because I already know I'm not
yeah,
going to be able to
yeah.
take this on, but I want to so bad.
I think it's a really good idea. I think we should do it, and it'd be nice if we could start doing something where, like, how like maybe I've said this before, but like how staff picks had their like. If we could start
We
doing
have
like
said
weekly,
this.
like this is the song that we need
We
to check
want
out.
that
This
on
is this is Uncle Mike's song that you should check out this week. Or
The
I think
All
that
Out of
could-
Angst podcast
yeah, that could
playlist.
kind of be a cool way to like promote bands and be like, we actually like this song. You guys should listen to it.
The AOAPP.
Yeah.
The All Out of Angst podcast playlist. And then we would put the bands out there with the songs we like, and then we'd bring the bands in the next week and talk about
Seems like a good format.
it. You know, and that's the crazy part about this little adventure that we have embarked on, this being the network, is that we have a whole bunch of those ideas like that, and then it's just getting to the point of executing.
Well, you
them.
just have to say them on air, so then we can get called out. Where it's like you said
That's
you're going
true.
to do
Right.
this.
Said,
Well,
accountability.
Yeah.
And it's a two-way street, right? The band
Oh, yeah.
obviously has to want
Want
do
to,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
And-
great
and-
point
yeah.
too.
And some of these bands are, you know, they may be newer bands, but they're not younger people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so they're, you know, our age
Yep.
or older or younger, and you know, whatever.
Okay,
Scheduling
boys.
stuff. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean,
I was
but
about-
I would hope, you know, given an opportunity. I mean, much like the opportunity to come in here,
Yeah.
right? It's just like, oh, it's a cool opportunity.
But I'm
to
sure we could
very
make
fun.
out and-
exceptions. Like if the Tuesdays didn't work or whatever, you know, we
Right.
could pick a time that could possibly work, and you know, even bang off a few of them.
And I'm even trying to think about microphones. Like we have our Twitch set up, that boom mic that goes over top.
Yeah.
And maybe we just get like 4 of us around a table or something, put that right in
Yeah,
the middle type of thing.
that
just
might
so
be
it's,
cool
You
too,
know,
yeah.
just so we don't, because you want everyone involved. And we only have the 3 mics here right now. Margaret, you're going to get the sneezies. I'm telling you. Hey, stop it. Sorry, she's licking a lot lately because her fur.
Licking a lot
The winter coat's coming in, so she's always trying to lick, and
Yeah.
then she always sneezes,
And
and
she's
she's
got
like,
the
"We don't want the
hairballs.
sneezes. The hairballs are coming next." And she knows it, and I know it. Trying to make sure that doesn't happen. So what I'm hearing is we should start like a retreat for bands, a band retreat.
We sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Something.
And I think maybe a good connection, like especially if they're you know, getting in contact with the venues, the booking agents, if you will. I don't know, booking whatever.
This is
And-
this sort of plays into. My mailman came by today, my man Adam, and he listens to the audio only podcast when he's walking around and doing his thing.
Nice. Thanks,
And-
Adam.
Yeah, he's a great dude. And I told him, it's funny. I felt like I was back in the day trying to pick up a partner. Like, dude, I can give you my number if you want. And then, like, you can come in the studio and we can talk. Because right when this thing first started, this goes back to all the crazy ideas that we go through. I wanted to get the guy who delivered every single piece of this set here, you know what I mean, into the studio and talk about how we can help out our mail carriers as
That's a great idea.
it's how everyone shops now. When nobody really goes out, like most of the stuff you buy comes in through the mailman. So I was like, "There's a couple minutes, we'll get him in here and just sort of tell us how we can help out with his sort of day-to-day operations, like those little things you can do." And he's like, "Yeah, I'd love to do that." So I got his number now, and I'm gonna get him in hopefully sometime in the next week or two. But this would sort of be kind of like the same thing,
Mhm.
where it's just bringing people in and saying, "How could we help you? What can we do to make your life better?"
I like that, and picking different,
Right.
yeah,
Not just music
Different
or bands
careers,
or whatever.
yeah.
different careers. Yeah, that's a fabulous idea.
Well, we've called this place a rehab facility for a long time. Like, well, a long time. It's been alive for 5.5 months. But every single second of those 5.5 months, it's been a rehab facility for myself and other people similar to like our buddy Croker, hello Croker, by the way, killing it right now.
Oh, I
with
love
Creator, the
all
guy's
of his
everywhere,
videos.
man. I love him
it.
so much.
I was just watching the coffee one.
Oh yeah, yeah. He does.
Yeah.
He's
He's
so
great.
cool. And just the guys that came up in the media industry, and then the industry said, "Hey, yeah, thanks for everything." Not and kicks us in the ass and
Wayne's
throws you
World.
out. Yeah, literally, like it just people need to recover from that. Like I personally, I gave over half my life to a place, and I was let go like it didn't matter. And that hurts when
Yeah,
you,
well,
and in
yeah.
the time, clearly and my dad always says, "Son, don't talk about being let go. Nobody wants to hear that stuff." So we won't go into too much detail on it. The way it was done, I totally deserved it. None of this whole dream wouldn't exist if that didn't happen. So I'm so grateful and so happy with all of that. I also still struggle to this day with all of the trauma and all the baloney that came with that place and that job.
And
right?
just feeling disposable.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
no
yeah.
self-worth.
Yeah.
Like even this day, I still have no self-worth because I spent over half my life not being worth. You know what I mean?
But to think about how many people you were getting through their days.
And that's
like,
the other side of it. That's what I'm focusing on. And all of those
When-
people that
when-
helped me get
when
through it,
I
guess
was-
what they're doing now?
yeah,
They're
when
helping us.
I
here.
was just getting into my city career or whatever, and I was like kind of a low point because I felt like my dream of like I was always like a rodeo, guy, like making a living off of just music was like I was very passionate. I wanted that to be the goal, and I felt when I got this job that the dream was kind of over, or like not I sold out, but I was like it's not gonna happen. And listening to you on the radio helped get me through those days. So.
And that was therapy for all of us.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just you getting help there. I was getting help
Yeah.
from myself there just by talking about it. Like they say, talking about it's the easiest part, the
Well,
most important.
And again, somebody came into the shop today, and I mentioned 'cause I had to close early to come do the show.
Still looking for an employee, by the way.
Not anymore. New
Hey!
one starts tomorrow.
Hey!
So
Here,
that's,
here.
yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. No, that's
Totally
okay.
derailed that.
But again, and this is, I'm not just fluffing your, I don't know, fluffing your
Something.
fluffers.
Fluff
But
away.
commonly when I talk to somebody and I tell them what I'm doing and who I'm doing it with, they're like, "Oh, Gary, he was the best freaking thing on that radio show."
I
And,
can
it's
attest to
it
that too.
sucks
Oh, you
now,
guys.
and he was the only. I don't listen to that radio show except when his show was on, and he was like a real dude. He wasn't some canned. It was enjoyable to listen to, right?
It felt real.
Like the banter in between, they almost looked forward more to that than the music,
Well,
right? Like it felt like
We've all heard Bon Jovi.
right, yeah. And I think I've kind of told you this when it's happened
Yeah.
on other instances, but again, it was like right before I came here, and the guy was like, "Man, I miss that guy." Like blah blah blah. I want to check out the podcast now, and because that was the best thing about that.
Come on
channel,
over.
or that channel, or
And I
station, whatever.
thank you, first and foremost, every single time, no matter what anyone says. It always feels good to hear nice things about you. I always compare it to the wrestler Mankind. And you remember him from the Hell in the Cell when Undertaker threw him off the top of the cell. And he landed on, like, he spent his entire career falling off of things and getting beat up from things and bleeding from things. And people, like he said, people would ask him, "Mick, how do you do this? How do you make everything look so real? What's your secret?" And he'd always respond with, "Because it was. I literally broke all the bones in my body. My brain's done. He can barely walk, all this stuff. But that's the secret. And that's why, and you'll notice I never say my show or I. I hate the term I, my, or me. They're out of my life, because nothing has ever been about that. It's always us, okay? It's always you and I. It's always our team. So the reason that show was so incredibly good and felt so real was because it was. To the point where we would get in trouble daily because it was real. Like, we were in, well, they still are in a business where perfection is expected. And if you're not scouring through every single second of the audio you're putting out there for everyone to enjoy, you're not doing your job. No one's allowed to just go and turn on the microphone and say, "How's it going?" I was the only one to do it.
But yeah, you would have people calling in and telling about their day, and
Yeah.
you built this like
Actual stuff you care about.
built relationships with these listeners,
And it's so
yeah.
easy because it was real. That's how you make it seem. How do you make it seem so real? This very show that we do for 1 hour a day, Monday to Friday, here on YouTube, is very, very real, and it feels real because it's very, very real. It's always live.
Except that gaff at the start, we planned that one.
That was totally planned.
that was our third take.
That was very good. Sorry, Dragon, you were trying to mouth something to me, and I couldn't get you here. Open up the window. Talk to us. Dragon on the ones and twos today. I can't hear you. The window's closed. Open up the window. I'm the only one with the headset in. Talk to me, baby. Website. Oh, he wants to do a website. All right, here we go. Ready? If you want to know more, come on over. Hey, there it is. DufferinAve.com for everything you need. Podcasting or organizational pushing, just like the Elmwood Fall Feast going on in 2 days. Head here
Yeah,
and learn more. You got a show. You want to be a part of the team. You want to come through for a tour. We got all that. So we even got the Patreon going, boys.
Yeah.
It's a soft launch of the
Doggy.
Patreon as we're still, formatting it and all that. Our boys in the viewing room, Dragon and LB, the co-hosts, I believe they have more Patreon people than us already. So they're just crushing
Of
it.
course they do.
And like I'm constantly trying to think of ways to help improve the experience. And I think one of the Patreon benefits is going to be coming by for a live show in studio, sitting down and watching how all this stuff works. So if any of that interests you at all, head to DufferinAve.com, and we will make some of that happen for you, and the Patreon thing might be pretty cool too.
Mhm.
Oh, you guys, that was very therapeutic.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gone through some therapy today, which is nice.
Yeah, I always do.
We do say that a lot around
well,
here.
when you were talking about the like finding yourself at 40 at our last,
Oh, yeah.
I was like went home and told Aaron about it. I was like, man, it really struck a chord with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's nice to know people have the same kind of
Totally.
experience or like reaction to life the
Yeah,
same way that
man.
I do.
And that's one of the most important things, I think, is finding similar-minded people and then coming together, because anytime we can combine those forces, we keep getting stronger, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like the ability to achieve the unachievable sort of becomes real over time when people come together like this and we sit here and we talk about, man, that radio show was so good that we used to do. Why don't we do something like that here? And then all of a sudden we do that here. And then we now have a live show, which is on the, I guess, format where everyone's going to next. Like, we are ahead of the curve right now in that we're putting our stuff out there on YouTube, which is where everyone goes to watch and consume all of their stuff. And then we have the social, shout out to Brixie and Wendy Brooks Media. We're making sure we get on all of the other social media places, so you can see clips from our shows, and that will bring you to the shows that we put out there. And just making the world a better place. That's been the common goal since day one, is for us to come in here, do something we love, and have it help out outside of this building. To have the reach where you say you have a guy that comes into your shop and he says, oh yeah, I love that guy's show, that was great. And then for him to find out that we're doing this now and that you're a part of it, now you have someone who's going to come and listen to it and realize, oh, this is really cool. And they tell their friends about it.
Mhm.
And then that's how we weed out the dicks and the assholes, right?
But yeah, it's that, because the brand of your show is positivity and that kind of thing, which not a lot of people are doing right now. That's it kind of infectious. People like.
Do you know how many fights we've had in this very room about, man, politics and religion get all the clicks, you get all the views with that stuff? And I would say, well, then go do that.
Yeah, they've
go do
got
it somewhere
that.
else.
Like-
Since when did doing something different and standing out become a bad thing? Right? All anyone ever tells you is to do this, copy this, steal this, do all those things. It's like, or just hear me out, try doing something no one's done before.
Mhm.
This whole content creation studio, no one's done this around these parts. Like, we have nothing to compare this studio to, and it's so exciting, but it's also so, like, not scary, but like nerve-wracking, maybe, just because it could literally go anywhere. We can do anything. And it's always got my brain going all over the place. I will say this, though. The reason we named this Your Show, this 1 hour, Monday to Friday, that we love to do with you, it came from the old radio show, because they decided they had to put my name on it. Everything. Oh, and I should have been doomed from the start, because the radio industry is based on people who are all about self-promotion and pushing themselves. It's made for that. Like, hey, follow me on this. Go check me out here. Do this. You hear the me? Even saying
Smash
me.
that, like smash.
Even saying the word me grosses me out, because it's never been me. It's always been our show, your show. So it would be the Gary Nichols show. We'd play a splitter, and then right after that play, I'm like, all right, no, it's your show, okay? This is your radio show. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to do? And that's why we named this show Your Show, because I wanted to continue to be your show. And it's very reassuring to know that that name has carried over, and it actually carries way more, bang for the buck now, because I spent all that time, there's an I again, you see the difference?
Mhm.
We spent all that time.
Inclusive.
I spent a lot of time getting yelled at, so we could spend all this time together, is what I'm getting at. So I'm just so grateful and happy that we are in this position as we get ready for some Frankie's Fingers. Final thoughts on that, please.
Yeah, I think if we're not pissing someone off,
And we have started the piano playing, just so you know. That was pretty good. I like that.
yeah, you got to be, you want to do the same as everyone else.
One
You
of
gotta
my
do something
favorite
different.
things, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but on the All Out Eggs podcast, I love putting Uncle Mike on the spot, because I'll just throw stuff at him and just watch him dance. He's getting pretty good at it. This is great.
I'm dancing.
He's dancing. Oh, all right, boys. Oh, there's Maggie. You got Maggie's attention. Okay, this is where I try to not acknowledge what goes on and say thank you to everyone. It is hot in here. Thank you to all of our guests today. Maggie Stevenson with Element. Oh, Maggie was even getting down. Look at the Maggie cam. As we got 2 more days. Well, I guess 2 more business days. Thursday night, It's going down at Prairieland Park, the Elmwood Fall Feast, elmwoodyxc.ca. Tickets went off sale on Sunday, but still looking, always looking for donations and help there. So thank you to Maggie for stopping by with that one. As well, thank you to our friends with Bamford & Co., the Bamford & Co. podcast getting recorded the other day. Your buddy Clint Waitress was in here. He says hello.
Contracting.
Love him. Nice shout out too.
Hey,
So
Hoyt.
thank you to them for
I don't
stopping
think I
by.
can do the Worm Dragon.
To Dragon, love you, buddy. Thank you for being on the ones and twos. You beautiful, beautiful man. And as always, to you and you for being a part of this journey. We talked about how grateful we are around here that we get to do this every day, and it makes it so much better when you are a part of it. So thank you for helping us transition a little radio show into a huge media network. It means so much. And we will continue to do the cool stuff that we do. I'm just going to let him tickle it for a minute.
And that class thing on the bench was again.
I gotta believe you
Man,
didn't
pull
fall,
something.
man. This is a oh jeez. It's a classic outro right here. There he goes. Oh, don't punch too hard. Yes. Eventually he's just gonna play himself right out, hey? He's gonna keeps coming up with this stuff. Okay, you guys. Thank you so much again. Remember, karma's very real. Do good things, they'll start happening to you, all right? We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Good job, you guys.